points bill. Members' motion with no legislative effect. Mr. Adrian HO will move a motion on promoting healthy aging to create a good quality of life for the silver-haired group. 3 members will move amendments to the motion. This council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. Later, I will first call upon Mr. Adrian HO to speak and move the motion. Then I will call upon Dr. Johnny Ng, Ms. Elizabeth Court, and Professor Lau Chi Pang to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. Members who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Mr. Adrian HO to speak and move the motion. President, I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. In the past, many members have spoken on the subject of elderly care. On many occasions, they have also put forward many suggestions to enhance such elderly care services. Today, I'd like to focus on healthy aging. And as I went through government statistics, I found that in 2021, for those aged 65 or above, they accounted for already 20% of the overall population. In 2022, the median age went up to 46. In other words, I'm already junior elderly. I'm moving towards the elderly stage. And then I actually listened to Mr. Lai's advice to start taking MNN to fight aging. I hope in future, when I get old, I don't need to others to take care of me. I hope I will be able to take care of my wife too. I don't want to become a burden to others. That's why I've started reading a lot of articles on healthy aging. I hope to age healthily and in style. Now, in facing up to the aging population, healthy aging is probably a way out. In 1987, at the World Health Congress, it was the idea was raised for the first time. And recently, the WHO is published a 10-year action plan from 2020 to 2030 on healthy aging. There are various actions proposed. To build age-friendly community is a way to provide a enabling environment for the elderly to have self-reliance, preserve their dignity, and is also to promote their well-being. That means we'll have longer life expectancies and a healthier aged society. Now, I want to bring out this concept of healthy aging because we want to reduce the burden of aging on the community. And I propose proactive measures to address the aging issue and identify new opportunities. First, I suggest the government to study and enhance the existing welfare system and measures so more will be able to benefit. During the summer break, I went to Singapore for a study visit. At the time, the Singaporean Premier Lee Hsien Loong just published a report on moving forward together and the support services thereof. So for those aged 50 or above with lower income or with less assets, there will be a tiered assistance. There's 1,000 Singaporean dollars of employment bonus for the Provident Fund bonus. And then there's a one-off $1,500 Singaporean dollars of a savings bonus for those who could not reach the basic saving amount. And then there's another 1,000 Singaporean dollars for health bonus. So it's to encourage people to stay healthy and prepare themselves for retirement. Now, based on the wealth status of residents, Singaporean government came up with this arrangement, and I think we should learn from the experience. It's all about co-caring. And then for the silver-aged group and those with less income, they will be taken better care of. I hope the SAO government will make reference to such practices. We should consider targeted support measures for those who will soon be reaching retirement. And then we have to review the old age living allowance and other assistance and subsidies, whether there's room for improvement. We need to keep enhancing the support system for the silver-haired group. And then the government needs to plan, and of course needs to plan for the future of the silver-haired group. And I think the government should start education at a young age. We need to educate the young that they have to lead a healthy life and plan well in advance for their retirement. So when they're still in their prime age, they should start planning for their retirement. They need to invest in their health and lead a balanced life. And so in future, they'll be able to lead to have healthy aging, and they will have more say over the way they want to enjoy the retirement. And then also people will be able to contribute to society for longer. And it's also about the protection of the basic rights if people stay healthy. In October this year, the Polytechnic University hosted an international conference. At the conference, Professor Liang Yiman said that that's a problem of declining health in our community. So the WH framework needs to be implemented in Hong Kong effectively. Now, in Wong Tai Sin, there's a pilot scheme which is about an integrated care model for the elderly. I hope this concept will be further promoted in Hong Kong, will become common and popular. That is, with early intervention, we could improve the functions of the silver-haired age, and so there's a lesser chance of them requiring care later on. And then this will be a determining factor for the enjoy retirement of the silver-haired group. Now, the Jockey Club also has an assessment program that covers sight, hearing, cognition, so on. It also covers a healthy diet and so on. So for those aged 50 or above, they will get assistance to delay aging and malfunctioning of their organs. Now, and then if necessary, there will be further assessment and refer to free professional services such as exercising, hearing tests, and so on. So this is to help people to stay healthy all around. And there could also be certain exercises that will delay incontinence, for example. And then in Taiwan, they have a silver-haired clubs. So there are exercise plans devised for individual elderly persons. This is to help improve their health and stay healthy. Now, we've heard, as I've mentioned, a series of measures, but there's another angle we can look at the aging population. Yes, aging will bring about certain social issues, but then it also brings about opportunities. For example, there will be more opportunities for silver-haired industries. My team went to the other end of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge for a study visit in Huangqin. We found a high-quality silver-haired community. For those who moved there, they could stay there for good. They also enjoy active social life, and then the community provides house cleaning and various other services for them. And what's important, there's an integrated health management system. There are professional healthcare teams that help the residents to manage their health and prevent these illnesses. So this ensures the quality of their life. Now, on the mainland, there are more and more retirement communities springing up, and definitely that provides good reference for us. And we could expand the high-quality retirement market. So for households with silver-haired members, they may choose to stay in Hong Kong for quality retirement. So people can age in place healthily, and they could also continue to contribute to society and their family. This will be the ideal choice for the silver-haired group. We don't want aging to become an evil that plagues us, but rather with government policies and support measures, then Hong Kong will have an age-friendly social environment. So for the silver-haired group now and the future silver-haired group, they will all enjoy a good quality of living. Thank you.
I now propose the question to you that Mr. Adrian HO's motion be passed. Dr. Johnny Thank you, President. We know that there will be more elderly people in Hong Kong 2030. There will be 30%, which is about 2 million people who are elderly. We are faced with aging population, so I agree with the motion proposed by Mr. Adrian HO, as well as the amendments made by Ms. Elizabeth QUAT, as well as Professor Lau. We need to have comprehensive policies to tackle the relevant issues. In the interest of time, I'd like to focus on the 3 points. 80% of the elderly people in Hong Kong, they are chronic patients. This will pose a huge pressure on our healthcare system. Many elderly people opt to receive long-term care at homes. However, there isn't enough support currently. In 2021, the average waiting time for such care is about 10 odd months. With aging in place policy, the government should offer more support. This involves a lot of resources and public funds. We can learn from other countries in providing support and care to elderly people. In Germany and in Japan, there are long-term care insurance plans for elderly people. This will help shorten waiting time for elderly care. And this also lowers the contribution that users have to pay for such care services. Hong Kong lacks a long-term and comprehensive care system. I think the government can, based on the current social security system, offer more support. Also, we are seeing more singleton elderly in Hong Kong, and this affects the mental health of elderly people in Hong Kong. I think the government should come up with more measures to help elderly. For instance, in Germany, there is a matching scheme to put young people and elderly people together so that single parents, for instance, as well as elderly people can live together. Also, there should be digital inclusion promotion. Thirdly, we should make use of technology to enhance the quality of living of elderly people. The government should promote the popularization of germ technology. Germ technology is a solution for elderly. In the long run, it can improve the quality of living of elders, and they can live with dignity, and this will also reduce the pressure on manpower and resources. This May, I proposed in this council a motion about promoting germ technology to improve the quality of life of elderly people. I thank members for making very insightful views. I am also happy to see that in the policy address there is a part about injecting $1 billion to the relevant funds to subsidize relevant organizations to rent germ technology products and devices. The government has taken on board our views. However, there is a lack of further measures. The SAR government can think about enhancing digital confidence of elderly people to help them move around the community. This is the reason why I am moving a similar motion in this council again. In summary, we need to enhance the quality of living of elderly people. In his important speech last year, the President Xi mentioned that there are 4 hopes. And one of the hopes is that elderly people should get better care. The SAR government should think of ways to solve all these problems so that elderly people can age with dignity and in a better environment. Thank you. I so submit. Ms. Elizabeth QUAT. Hong Kong, like other places in the world, are faced with problem of aging population. According to statistics, elderly aged 65 or above in 25 years' time, the number will double. That means the elderly population will, from 2021, rise from 1.45 million to 2.74 million. That means the percentage will increase from 20% to 30%. 1 in 3 people in Hong Kong will be elderly, and the average or median age of people in Hong Kong will be 47, and by 2046, the dependency ratio will double from 300 to 632. All these figures show that we are facing serious aging population problems. We have discussed elderly care problems many times, but I still thank Mr. Adrian HO for the motion, as well as Dr. Johnny and Professor Lau Chi-Pang for the amendments. I want to focus on 3 points. How can we ensure a sense of well-being of elderly? I remember last year in Sha Tin, I talked to a district councillor-elect, and we visited a housing estate, Mei Lam Estate in Sha Tin. It's a very old housing estate, and the first generation of residents have lived there for 40 years. The residents told us that the housing estates have become very old, and the devices and facilities there are all dilapidating. They need upgrading of facilities. They said it's easy to make them happy. First, they want to make use of technology to age in place, and they have elderly taking care of elderly. So, say for helping elderly people to sit up, they need relevant technology. Also, very often they have to help look after their grandchildren. They want to spend time with their grandchildren while their grandchildren are playing in the playgrounds. And while they look after the grandchildren, they hope that there can be some fitness equipment near the playground or in the park that they can make use of. And Ms. Winnie Ho, Secretary for Housing, thought about what the government could do. Then the government rolled out the Let's Go Wellbeing Design Pretest. And under the scheme, the government wanted to improve the design of public housing estates to provide more barrier-free facilities and to create more interesting playgrounds for children, so that children, while they play, their grandparents can spend time with them. So, a sense of well-being is also a sense of, or the kind of warm feeling that people can feel. I think the government should not stay in the pretest stage. Instead, it should expedite the progress of the scheme and extend the scheme to all public housing estates, so that we can bring a sense of well-being and happiness to our people. Secondly, the government must make use of germ technology to ensure good living quality of our people. Many elderly people, they cannot even afford buying an safety belt or EAS. I wonder if the elderly people can use vouchers to get such devices or system. Also, we have the HKMC annuity plan now. Some say they want to start contributing to the plan when they are 45 years old, so that when they retire when they become 60 years old, they have a stable income or saving. All these are some concrete suggestions from me. I so submit. Thank you. Professor Lau Chi-Pang. President, I speak in support of Dr. Johnny M's motion, as well as the amendments made by Ms. Elizabeth QUAT and Dr. Johnny M. In 2021, our country set out the 14th five-year plan, and it set out the development outline for 2021 to 2025. One of the focus was to take care of the elderly. In 2022, the State Council issued the plan for the development of national undertakings for the aged and elderly care service system. It suggested improving the elderly care system. Aging population is a major global trend. We have a lot of people in China And to tackle the issue of aging population, our country have good conditions compared to other countries. For instance, it has many resources. And we also have Chinese culture, the culture of filial piety. We have to enhance the sense of well-being and happiness of our people. And the Chinese government came up with a number of measures, for instance, expanding the network of social security and also enhancing aging in place policy. Also, it strives to promote silver hair economy to create an age-friendly environment. It also strives to protect the asset and rights of elderly people. In Hong Kong, we're also facing an aging population. Hong Kong and mainland all see Chinese culture. We have similarities and common points, and we attach importance to filial piety. So we can perhaps draw reference from the policies in the mainland. We should definitely learn from our country's policies, especially it has to do with the national planning. We should create a better environment for the silver-haired group in Hong Kong. Thank you. I so submit.
主席，
Secretary for Labour and Welfare. First of all, I thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving this motion, and Mr. Johnny Ng, Ms. Elizabeth QUAT, and Professor Archie Pang for their amendments. In February last year, the State Council published the Plan for the Development of National Undertakings for the Aged and Elderly Care Service System during the 14th five-year plan period to provide planning and guidance on improving elderly social security, aging in place, elderly health support, and developing a silver-haired economy. Having consulted the relevant policy bureaus, I will explain the government's policy measures on healthy aging and enhancing the quality of life for the silver-haired group. First, on home support. Aging in place as the core institutional care as backup is the policy direction of the government for elderly services. The government has been providing different types of elderly support services at the community level to prevent and delay elderly frailty and facilitate aging in place. The government provides home support services to elderly persons with mild impairment through integrated home care services or home care and support services for elderly persons with mild impairment, which include personal care, homemaking, escort and meal services, etc., to postpone their health deterioration so that they can age in place. In 2022-23, the above programs served 26,000 elderly persons. On promoting active aging, apart from home support services, all elderly persons may receive services from over 210 subvented elderly centers, including counseling, outreach, referral, social and recreational activities. As at the end of September 2023, the centers registered a total of 270,000 members. Elderly academies form another important elderly network. In addition to elderly centers, the Labour and Welfare Bureau and the Elderly Commission have jointly implemented the Elderly Academy scheme since 2007, under which elderly academies are set up across the territory by NGOs and schools to offer a wide range of courses and intergenerational activities in a bid to promote active aging. There are currently about 200 elderly academies in NGOs, post-secondary institutions, primary and secondary schools in Hong Kong. Through the Opportunities for the Elderly Project, or OEP, the Social Welfare Department subsidizes social service organizations and district groups to carry out a wide range of activities to encourage elderly community participation. They provide opportunities for them to unleash their potential and cultivate a sense of self-worthiness. Since its launch, the Social Welfare Department has allocated over $120 million to subsidize over 6,880 activities, benefiting over 3.1 million participants. Apart from providing home support service to elderly persons and promoting active aging, the government also enhances the Silverhead Group's sense of well-being through building an elderly-friendly environment. The Housing Bureau has selected 5 housing estates to pilot the Let's Go Wellbeing Design Pretest. Various improvement measures will be studied and implemented in phases before 2027 to enhance a sense of well-being. The growing elderly population is emerging as an important consumer group, creating considerable demand for such products and services as medical, healthcare, leisure, recreation, home and personal care catered for the elderly. They enhance the quality of life and spur industry growth and business opportunities. Driving the economic activities relating to elderly-centered products and services will also promote the development of the silver economy. While unleashing its market potential, we can better cater for the daily needs of the elderly. The Commerce and Economic Development Bureau will establish an advisory panel on silver economy comprising experts of different fields to conduct an in-depth research and offer recommendations in 1 year. On promoting German technology, the government has been encouraging a wider adoption of German technology to improve the quality of life of the elderly and alleviate the stress on carers. In December 2018, the government approved a $1 billion fund, that is the Innovation and Technology Fund for Application in Elderly and Rehab Care, or the INT Fund, which subsidizes eligible service units to procure, rent, or try out technology products. The fund has by far approved $640 million to subsidize about 1,900 elderly and rehab service units to procure or rent over 17,000 tech products. Since September this year, we have extended the scope of the Community Care Service Voucher for the elderly to renting assistive technology products to benefit the Silverhead Group. In October this year, the government has expanded the service scope of 210 subvented elderly centers to cover the promotion of German technology. Elderly centers hold seminars, workshops to help the elderly learn how to use smartphones and mobile apps. The elderly centers also provide suitable technical support to their elderly members when they run into difficulties. The OGCIO collaborates with NGOs through the ICT outreach program for the elderly. Staff are deployed to elderly care homes, daycare centers, and spots frequented by elderly people, such as parks, to teach elderly people about digital technology and help them experience digital life through outreach activities. The OGO also implements the enriched ICT training program for the elderly and an online learning platform called Elderly IT Learning Portal for elderly users to learn various digital technologies according to their needs and interests, including smartphone, mobile apps, digital menu, online shopping, e-wallet, as well as cybersecurity. President, the Undersecretary for Health and myself will listen carefully to members' views before giving a response in the end. Thank you.
Mr. Kitson Yang. President, I speak in support of Mr. Adrian HO's motion on promoting healthy care aging to create a good quality of life for the Silverhead Group. The WHO believes that the healthiest aging is for the aged to be able to for the elderly to live according to their preference. But that means they need to stay healthy in terms of internally, in terms of their own perceptions, and cognition and so on. And external environment is about their life habits. My mothers always nag their children, saying that, well, if you do like this, when you get old, you know the consequences. So not doing exercise and smoking and drinking are all bad for your health. Don't think that because you're young, so you don't care, there wouldn't be any problems. So, but if it happens, then it happens. But then health is about an obligation as well. The government must help people to learn about staying healthy, but then from young we need to have good habit such as doing exercise, and for example we need to keep our bone dense by doing some weight training and so on. Otherwise we may suffer from osteoporosis when we get old. So that's why education is important. We need to help young people to start healthy living at a young age. Now, if you go to a certain shop if you go to the YUU, for example, a donkey, then there's a song that keeps looping and that teaches you about healthy messages and so on. And there could also be special features with the participation of artists and singers, and then they could leverage on their influence on the public, and we can teach people to learn how to prevent diseases, how to lead a healthy living, and so on. And then such information is also included in the curriculum of primary and secondary school, so people learn how to lead a healthy life from a young age, and that will build a good foundation when they get older. So the best thing is when people age, they're able to look after themselves because they are still able to move around freely and so on. So it's very important that there is a early prevention, early identification, and early intervention. And chronic diseases will require long-term care, and there may be a need for rehabilitation services and so on. So for the district elderly care center, they only cover hypertension and diabetes. That's not enough. Can we expand the scope to cover other the chronic diseases such as high cholesterol level? And what about assessment of bone density? And so we could prevent osteoporosis. Now, a quarter of stroke patients in Hong Kong have the disease from cardiopulmonary condition, but then it's not an expensive check to check on the fibrillation and so on. And then incontinence, of course, is also a problem that the elderly don't want. And then cognition problems such as Alzheimer's disease, there could be early assessment. So can we not bring in these new assessment tools at an early stage? And then we could come up with treatment plans. So apart from healthy aging, there's need for aging in place, and the government has launched the elder academies, and then there are employment programs for the middle-aged and the elderly, and they've all been effective. And then there are also new plans to enhance the quality of residential care homes for the elderly. And then we also have cross-boundary elderly care, residential care program, and the application of drone technology and so on. Now, all these measures are good for the elderly, but they are rather fragmented in a way. Now, this and then the motion also talks about starting a silverhead economy, so we can learn from the experience of other places. Maybe elderly people could start their own businesses, and there are various economic activities they could engage in. Now, in Japan, they have certain experience that we could learn from too. I hope in future there will be more services for the silver-haired group, so they can enjoy the convenience of technology, and they can lead a better life, and it will be easier for carers too. Now, we want to have an age-friendly environment. It won't be built overnight, but we must all start by starting healthy habits at an early age. Thank you. Mr. Chen Siu-Hong. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Mr. Adrian Ho's motion and the other amendments. Now, healthy aging means in an aging population, the elderly lead a long and healthy life. The WHO's definition is that mentally, physically, that someone remains in a good condition. That's well-being. So they don't suffer from diseases. They have strong physique, but they also need to have good mental health. That means they could then still contribute to society. Now, I'd like to make suggestions on 3 areas. First, on physical health, I think the most fundamental aspect is that we need to raise public awareness about staying healthy. Now, there's a Hong Kong U study that says that there are those 553 persons aged between 18 and 65. 97% of them have had some certain health issues, for example, eye fatigue, sore back, and so on. Now, people are not in the healthiest of state. That's a subpar health condition is because they don't actually have diseases, but they do suffer from pains or sores and so on. So it's important that we that we start to take care of our health at an early age, we need to have this awareness. And then for those with dementia, we're seeing an increasing number of them. A survey shows that for every 10 those age a person's age 70 above, there's one demented person. So there is a need to set up early screening test for dementia. Then at the district elderly care centers and neighborhood elderly care centers, there could be certain services. German technology could help to take better care of demented elderly. It will also lessen the pressure on carers. Now, when I visited the district, I often hear residents say, "Well, I have to admit that I'm getting old." Well, when people aging, they instead of carers, they become the cared for. I've come across many families. The retirees have all of a sudden have to start taking care of their spouses who cannot take care of themselves. They even have memory or emotional problems, and that is the major source of mental stress. In other countries, they have specialist clinic that provide screening tests. So in Hong Kong, we should promote screening tests. We must also help the public to learn more about dementia, and so they could prepare it earlier. Now, there's this idea of sense of coherence put forward by a Greek expert. Now, elderly people are able to have good retirement, and they could learn about the meaning of the twilight years. If they stay healthy and so on, they don't feel stressed, and that will also means a delay in their dependence on care by the government and family members. That's why the government should promote the Silver Age planning concept. That means people will start planning for their retirement before they are 50. That will cover healthcare, social welfare, and insurance coverage, and so on. And also, the elderly may want to spend the twilight years in a place that they know well. And for this elderly group, they don't feel any security. That's what troubles them. Now, we're talking about aging in place, and was but then that's what the government's promoting. But at the same time, it keeps saying that we don't have enough manpower to take care of the elderly, so they encourage people to go to the Greater Bay Area to spend their twilight years. So that will mislead these groups to think that they've contributed their life to the building of Hong Kong, and then they're asked to go across the boundary to spend their twilight years. So for the able-bodied elderly, we have to help them stay in a place where they know best so they could lead life with dignity. So I speak. Mr. Chen Kim Paul. Thank you, President. Aging is an issue that faces all advanced economies. In terms of social support and services, it is a major challenge. I thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving the motion and the other members for their amendments. I support the motion and the amendments. On aging, many may relate it to illnesses and other negative perceptions, but actually when people get old, it's something we all have to go through. What we can do is try to delay the problems that were brought about by aging. The best way is to change people's living habits and lifestyle. So we could therefore delay the age of contracting chronic illnesses. So when people are old, they could still lead a happy and healthy life. Now, exercising every day is important for the elderly. Now that we have an aging population, the government needs to keep reviewing whether there are sufficient community recreational facilities, such as fitness equipment and so on. We should encourage the elderly to do stretching exercises and other fitness training, so they could stay healthy and look after themselves, at the same time could prevent degeneration of their joints. Healthy diet is important to many elderly. Think that if they don't eat so much oily food, then it's healthy. diet, but that's not enough. They need to have enough nourishment, and particularly the elderly needs minerals, vitamins, and so on. So because this is to keep their joints and their teeth healthy and delay the pace of aging. So we need to teach people about the right concept of healthy diet. And we need to encourage the elderly to eat healthy and also exercise. Now, at the same time, we need to keep the elderly happy and healthy. They must not feel lonely. So we could provide interest classes and other skills training classes for the elderly, singing, horticulture and so on. So elderly learn some new skill and knowledge. This will enhance their self-esteem, and they will stay passionate about life. And after they've learned new skills, they could become trainers to teach their peers. So they will make new friends, and they have something to do. And if they are socially active, there will be fewer cases of emotional problems. So we need to help the elderly to stay healthy, both physically and mentally, and they can enjoy their retirement life. Now, in recent years, there's much talk about making use of technology to help improve the quality of living of the elderly. For those who are not so mobile, we can make use of current technology to help improve their quality of living. For example, there are smart devices, smart pill boxes to remind the elderly to take their medication on time. And there are also other devices to monitor the health condition of the elderly, and devices to remind the elderly to do some exercises at the right time. And there are also some bathroom devices that help to the elderly to take a shower safely and so on. So all these simple smart devices will help improve the quality of living of the elderly and also lessen the stress on them. Now, we have an aging population. We need to face up to that. Longevity and must go along with health, and because then the elderly could live healthily with good quality of living. And if there's less reliance by the elderly on the community, that will benefit us as a whole. Thank you.
Mr. Stanley Lee. President, thank you. I'd like to speak on the motion debate on promoting healthy aging to create good quality of life for the Silverhead Group. I thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving this motion. Last week, I moved the motion on elderly care across the boundary. Now, these two motions are similar. We share the objective of providing or enhancing the quality of life for the retirees. According to the 14th Five-Year Plan, we should actively dovetail with the national strategies on elderly care. We also need to develop the relevant elderly care strategy, the industries. Last year, the State Council published a plan for the development of the national undertakings for the aged and elderly care services system. Now, there are 9 strategies involving the development of elderly care products and industry. We have an aging population in Hong Kong. This problem is going to become worse. So we need to take preemptive action to tackle this challenge. I'm concerned about the well-being of the elderly. I've been paying duty visits to different places so that retirees can enjoy good quality of life. I have the following suggestions for the government. First, the government should make reference to elderly health centers set up in other jurisdictions. We should improve ours. In Japan, there is also a serious problem of an aging population. In Aichi Prefecture, there is an elderly care center. This is the largest elderly care center with an onsen, that's a hot spring, with amusement, games, machines, and other entertainment facilities inside. There are many activities for the elderly. There is also the service of physiotherapy. There is also a special currency to be used by the elderly for them to be more active. For example, whenever they walk for 100 meters, they get a token, and then this token can be used within the center in exchange for snacks or even coupons to pay visits outside the center. This can help the elderly stay active and stay healthy. This can also encourage them to socialize, so we can make reference to that. We also need good supporting facilities. In 1995, Germany enacted an act on long-term care. There is a long-term care insurance system. Now, this is similar to what we have here. They place emphasis over home care rather than institutional care. If a young person is willing to be the company of an elderly person and take care of the elderly person, such as cooking meals, so on and so forth, they will receive a subsidy. This is akin to what we have in Hong Kong, that is aging in place as the core and institutional care as a backup. So again, we can make reference to this model. Recently, I visited the Gerontech Expo. The expo showcased some interesting e-sports, and I think that these games can help the elderly people to stay brain active. We can delay the frailty and help prevent dementia. These are all facilities that can promote healthy aging, as the motion suggests. As for elderly fitness centers, I think this is a good idea. We have fitness centers already for young people. What about fitness centers in other places? There are fitness centers especially for tailored for the elderly. In fact, I visited some elderly homes. Some member just mentioned promoting swimming among the aged. And in some elderly centers, they have swimming pools for elderly to swim in. So I hope you can make reference to these successful examples in other jurisdictions, Ms. Eunice Yong. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Mr. Adrian Ho's original motion of promoting healthy aging to create a good quality of life for the Silverhead group. I know that Adrian Ho is a fitness fanatic. He always works out in fitness centers. And this debate also relates to promoting the physical health of the elderly, so as to give them a sense of happiness and security. In fact, I looked up some documents. There is a guiding opinion published by the State Council on the provision of elderly facilities, of fitness facilities for the elderly. And that guiding opinion includes providing facilities for the elderly, along with the policies to promote fitness exercises among them. In fact, during the election, we got in touch with the public, and we heard that for the elderly, for the fitness centers, they provide equipment for the old and the young, but then these are very boring facilities. Say for the pedals, I have been using this fitness bike for years, and I am getting bored. So you should keep the facilities interesting. According to this document, we should create an elderly-friendly fitness environment. Shanghai is one of the leading cities. Now, I am also a CPCC member of the Shanghai province, so I've looked into their successful example. We can make reference to their approach. Say, for state-of-the-art facilities, we can introduce them to public housing estates, which currently are strewn with typical fitness bikes. They have AI or face recognition technologies, and for example, just by looking at the screen, the machine can tell an elderly person how many steps they have taken this month so far, and the machine can also give you information about the vitals. So for the elderly user, they will surely enjoy this tailor-made experience. They will also be encouraged to stay fit by working out. In the mainland, I always see children and the elderly working out together. In fact, in other places, there is a similar experience. Children and elderly fitness equipment can be put in the same place. And for the elderly, they may not be as active as children, but they can just sit at the side and appreciate as children enjoy themselves there. Now, in fact, in these jurisdictions, even in elderly, even for community centers, they provide services to both the young and the old in the same place. So that I think this can help intergenerational inclusion. I think we can enhance social cohesion this way, as one generation helps the other. It's like grandparents taking care of the grandchildren. Many grandparents are very active. They contribute to our society. So in terms of the design and the policy formulation, the district offices should consider the social cohesion aspects and provide facilities for elderly people as well as children together. We have an aging population, but we must acknowledge the contribution made by the elderly about leading a dignified life. We need to have empathy. We need to consider other people's experience from their perspective. I hope that we all appreciate the elderly's contribution. We would wish them longevity and continue to contribute to our society. Dr. Teck Chi-yun. Thank you, President. In Hong Kong, we have an aging population. In 2016, we had 17% of our population being elderly. By 2030, this figure could reach 30%. Now, the United Nations projections suggest that by 2025, the population in Hong Kong above the age of 65 could reach 40.6%. That means we have the largest elderly population among the other cities in the world. So aging population is a major challenge for us. In face of that, I think the government is not proactive enough in tackling this challenge. The government has yet to take up this responsibility because at this point, I don't see any population policy. I don't hear any objectives in this regard. The government always says that when a policy is ready, it will be rolled out. But I don't see this being a very active approach. Does it mean that with funding approval, you will set up another elderly center? This is a piecemeal manner that fails to respond to public aspirations. The Secretary may tell you what they've done in the past and what is included in the policy address. Now, we have an aging population. So let me tell you what the problem is. As of the 31st of October 2023, there are 17,069 applicants waiting for a place in the elderly home. So that means we need 170 more elderly centers or residential care homes to take care of the elderly here and now. Is there a timetable? Perhaps the Undersecretary in a moment can tell us. In the coming 10 years, how many more care homes will be built to take care of how many more elderly people? Again, as of the 31st of October 2023, 7,057 applicants are waiting for a place for a home care service. That means the average waiting time is 7 months, exceeding the waiting time of 3 months for daycare service. Now, for those on the waiting on the queue, they have imminent needs. For RCGs, the waiting time is 3 years. For care and attention home, 7 months. So, is the government objectives of aging in place met? And according to the Housing Authority's figures, there are 120,000 plus elderly singletons who are age 60 or above. And according to the Hong Kong CSS survey, 1 in every 10 elderly persons are now living alone. They do not have a good network of support. They are lonely. So how would they have a good quality of life? Some elderly people may be confused or out of stress. They may do something silly. Now, Adrian Ho talked about healthy aging. Now, you are very handsome, of course. As you age, you will continue to be so. As for other elderly people, how can they stay healthy as they age? Adrian Ho, please help. In 2005, the World Health Organization rolled out a plan on healthy aging in the city. That means we should promote active aging for elderly people to stay healthy and to actively participate in the community. The government should be more proactive in drawing up policies in the short, medium, and long term to improve the quality of life for the elderly. What is our plan? It's a matter of commitment and resolve. Now, for the Housing Bureau, in the coming 10 years, there will be more and more spade-ready sites for housing production. Can we have something of the same for the elderly care?
Mr. So Chung-Wing, thank you, President. In mid-2023, those age 60 or above, 5 or above account for 22% of our population. The UN's projection is that by 2025, Hong Kong will have the largest elderly population. Those age 65 above will account for 40.6% of our population. That's by 2030. That means we will have 2 persons in Hong Kong supporting 1 elderly person. With an aging population, that will be an immense fiscal pressure on the public health care and welfare system. And that means that there will be more and more old persons that we need to take care of. Now, already, we don't have sufficient manpower in residential care homes for the elderly. In the next 50 years, the elderly population will double. So that means there will be an even more serious problem. That's why we need to discuss Mr. Adrian Ho's motion. We need to, use our collective wisdom to find ways out. I would suggest the government to refer to the 10-year plan of the UN for healthy aging. So about building an age-friendly environment, the government needs to take proactive action first. We have social welfare protection system. This remains the first pillar for us to deal with the aging population. In 2023, for those aged 65 or above, those who are in poverty exceed 514,000. That means that although we have comprehensive welfare coverage, we need to a more effective ecosystem to lower the number of elderly poor. Secondly, we need to strengthen collaboration between the healthcare and welfare sectors. at the community level, there's a need for developing a long-term care system, and then households should be the core of the community health care system. There's need for community pharmacies, and we need to build more elderly health centers and day care centers for the elderly. So we need to give effective support to elderly care. So the focus should be shifted to prevention rather than treatment. Third, we need to strengthen support for families. Statistics show that for those aged 70 or above, 30% or more of them have reduced mobility, and another 30% may have visual or hearing impairment. So the government must promote common use of gerion technology. So using smart and remote devices, we could provide smart monitoring for the elderly at home, and then the elderly can then age in place and rehabilitate in place. Fourthly, we need to build an age-friendly community. We need to provide safe, age-friendly transport services. There must be barrier-free transport services and community facilities. We should leverage on the care teams in the 18 districts to provide actual and spiritual support to the elderly. And also, we could must give additional support to elderly carers. And for those aged around 40 or so, they should be educated about healthy aging. And they need to plan early for the retirement. And then this group will become an important source in promoting the silver-haired economy. So I speak. Mr. Tony Chair. Well, in this term of the Council, we have had many debates on elderly-related issues. Last year, I moved a motion on promoting the building of a healthy city. And I said at the time that in terms of medical services, accommodation, food and clothing, we need to help the elderly face the challenge of aging, so everyone will live happily. In the past year and a half, I'm happy to see that in developing a healthy city and in promoting elderly health in particular, the government has taken some actions. It has taken on board our views. So that, for example, early prevention of illnesses and early intervention, these concepts have become mainstream now. The government's also strengthened collaboration between Chinese and Western medicine. Hong Kong has actually started rather late, so we need to catch up and make an extra effort in doing that. The policy address also taken on board suggestions I made for years. That is there must be universal design for both the able-bodied and the disabled, and it's about amending the building manual so there could be aging in place with this new building design. Okay, well, there's much mention of aging in place, but then we don't seem to remember the need of inclusive designs in the community. So more young people can live with their old parents or live nearby at least, so they could look after their elderly parents, and that will bring about much benefit to the community as a whole. Apart from building design that's age-friendly, in terms of mobility, roads, recreational facilities, and public transport facilities, and so on. And even with urban planning and so on, we need to pay attention to the element of age-friendliness. The Transport Department is now doing the traffic and transport strategy study, so I would remind the department to pay special attention to the mobility needs of the elderly. Now, because soon there will be one elderly person in 3 in Hong Kong. And then there must be good use of Joran technology so we could truly implement aging in place and inclusive living for the old and the young. Now, as technology advances, the facilities will become cheaper, so the government must monitor the developments and offer subsidies to help the elderly to buy Joran tech products. Now, diet, I think that's something the government doesn't pay much attention to. Now, many elderly persons are very careful about their diet. It's only because they've already got chronic illnesses, for example, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol level, and so on. But then they have these diseases because of their eating habit when they were younger. Now, the focus is only on whether food is safe or not, but whether the food is healthy. Are people eating well? Do they go for salty food too much sugar, or they overeat or whatever? I think the government needs to do something about that. Finally, many people believe habitually that the elderly is a burden to us that leads to economic contraction. Actually, many elderly people in Hong Kong are healthy and energetic. They can continue to contribute to the development of our economy. They can take up jobs and share the experience with young people. So young people won't make the same mistakes. I hope the advisory group on silver-haired economy set up by the government will not just look at the silver-haired economies. They should also look at how they could tap into the potential of the elderly for them to live more happily and healthily. So I speak in support of the original motion and the amendments. Mr. Chow Siu Chung. President, healthy aging means that as we have an aging population, the elderly can live a long and healthy life. Now, there are various measures to promote healthy aging. For example, educating different age groups and training of carers, and then revamping the primary health care system. These are all measures which I support. But then health is not just about the physical health, there's also mental health. Both is equally important. The Secretary for Labour and Welfare says that with work, we can realize our value. Going to work is not just about making money. It's important for someone's mental health too. Now, there are many elderly persons in Hong Kong who want to keep working. First, because there's not enough retirement protection and they don't want to rely on government welfare. So they want to keep making money and support themselves. And secondly, many believe they are still healthy, they are able to work, they don't want to retire so soon. Yes, these elderly persons may want to work continuously, but it's not so easy for them. I've recently come across a case. There's a 65-year-old construction worker who told me that he went to several interviews. Contractors saw that he was also that they wouldn't hire him, and he was really angry. Now, in the workplace, definitely is not age-friendly, and the employers have no incentive to hire the silver-haired too. It's a waste of our precious manpower resources. The labor participant rate for those age 65 is just 13.3%. Is lower than that in neighboring countries. For example, Japan, the labor participation, the employment rate of those age 65 above is 25.3%. The reason why they have such a high percentage because the government there actually promotes their employment. For example, in Akita Prefecture, they have partnership program for encouraging elderly employment. They work with NGOs on that, and they also increase the job opportunities for the elderly, so elderly persons can continue to work and realize their value. This also helps to provide more manpower resources, and these elderly persons can contribute with their experience. And Kyushu government also works with local groups. They set up a council to promote employment for the elderly. For example, they have a reward system, And for businesses taking part in the program, they come from the construction and many other sectors. So businesses are encouraged to hire more old persons. There's also age-friendly workplace, for example, bigger fonts of the notices and so on. And also there are automatic devices to lessen to the burden on the elderly and so on. So now the government needs to play a bigger role in promoting elderly employment, say in terms of public spaces, transport services, building design, employment support, and community support and so on. The government needs to promote development on all these fronts, and there has to be a comprehensive support network for the silver hair to have a good quality of living, so they have a better sense of happiness and gain. So I speak in support of the original motion and all the amendments.
Mr. Benson, look. Thank you, President. First of all, I thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving this motion on promoting healthy aging to create a good quality of life for the silver-haired group. I also thank other members for their amendments. According to the CNSD statistics, that is a population projection from 2022 to 2046 for the population aged 65 or above. It will go up from 1.45 million in 2021 to 2.74 million by 2046. That means by then, the dependency ratio will be increased to 632, up by one-fold from 300. In recent years, the silver-haired group are feeling younger. They are getting fitter. Many retirees are actually fit for work. The Labor Department has a scheme to promote employment for the elderly and the middle-aged, but the participation rate was not very high. In 2021, the participation rate was 22.6%. This low rate could be explained in several ways, but I think that the government can collaborate with different sectors. As we now turn a new chapter for Hong Kong, we need to foster greater collaboration among the government, the business sector, community organizations such as social enterprises, so as to enhance the quality of life for the silver-haired group. For example, for our youth group of the BPA, they operate youth startups in the form of a social enterprise. They repackage traditional Chinese snacks to promote to the younger generation. What is interesting is that they hire a group of the golden age girls, so to speak. The elderly ladies can build confidence in the process. They can also earn an income. And the golden age girls can also expand the social circle and stay active. This is how we meet the objective of creating a shared value through social enterprises. The two age groups complement each other's strengths. Young people in the enterprise are responsible for the sales, and they help promote the products to the silver-haired group. We should encourage more young people to target the silver-haired market. We should encourage greater collaboration among the government, the community, and the business sector so that more older employees can rejoin the workforce. If possible, funding support or support in the form of tax breaks, venue can be provided to social enterprises. The BPA recently published a report on the 4 approaches to promoting healthy aging. I hope that the government would take a careful look at our proposal and discuss with us. In fact, I have 3 suggestions to make so as to formulate a more targeted elderly care policy. The government should reinstate a high-level population policy commission as quickly as possible so as to take a targeted approach in population projection and demographic trends to meet the needs of the silver-haired group. In terms of respect for the elderly and the ideology and how we support them, the government should publicize these ideas so that the public understands that the elderly still have a lot to contribute to society. And for those retiring, they may need time to adapt to the retirement life. More support courses should be operated by the government for elderly people to be instilled with positive values so as to meet the objective of healthy aging. I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Priscilla Leung. In 1957, Chairman Mao Zedong told a group of young students that the world is yours, it's also ours. But ultimately, it will be yours. Now, I would say that the world is for all of us. There should not be any differentiation of age. Now, in 2021, the government put forward the idea of developing a silver economy. We would be moving towards a rapidly aging population soon. And back then, I also advocated a $2 concessionary transport fare for the elderly. Now, the BPA did not support cash handouts. Instead, we considered it an investment. We should prepare for the rainy days. Now, the aging population is an imminent issue. According to statistics, 30% of our population will be elderly. That's in 2036. By 2046, 36%. And then according to the UN figures, by 2050, this percentage could reach 40.6%. That's a huge number. Apart from helping the elderly in their retirement life, we also need to develop the silver economy to unleash the potential. Mr. Lau Shaoseng was a legislator for 2 terms, and he became a lawmaker only after he retired. The president of Malaysia, Mahathir, was age 92. In Hong Kong, a very famous artist joined a training course of the TV station when she reached the age of 70. We also need to train elderly to take care of babies and children. There are also other related issues such as family therapy, etc. And these are jobs suited to older people. Now, for silver economy, a fund should be set up for startups so that the older entrepreneurs can leverage on their experience and their funds to help the younger generation. Now, there's a movie called Intern. Robert De Niro was a retired entrepreneur, and he worked with a very young partner and achieved success. In Sweden, there is a so-called bank for the volunteers. For the recent retirees, they are trained to become volunteers. So that when they eventually retire, the hours that they serve as voluntary workers can be used to procure voluntary services. Actually, I've received some requests for assistance. Some people use their retirement money to buy a franchise to operate a laundromat. It was a scam. He was cheated out of his life savings. He didn't want to stay home. He didn't want to just practice Tai Chi every morning. There should be an avenue for the government to help them start a second career. Since we have such a large proportion of elderly in our population, they form a very essential part of our world. Now, the other point is silver-haired retirement. In Taiwan and the US, they've done a very good job. In Hong Kong, for retirees above the age of 65, we should ensure that their insurance policies can continue so that they won't fall back into the public healthcare system, because this will pose a great burden on the system. As we said in the press conference several weeks ago, we should create quality retirement centers or elderly cultural centers or cultural precincts for elderly in the Greater Bay Area. Now, we also need a shift of mindset. Reaching the age of 60 is no longer reaching the end of their life. They still have a long way to go. They can still enjoy good quality of life. I so submit. Mr. Bill Tang. We have an aging population. This means needs will have to be met. In the recent district council election, I took part in electioneering. I went to the outlying islands, Cham Kwan O, Sha Tin. Every candidate was concerned about safety, sense of happiness at the district level. This is a common aspiration. So there is a consensus that we need to tackle aging population and ensure safety and happiness for the elderly in the community setting. Now, to echo Mr. Adrian Ho's original motion, by healthy aging, we hope that our elderly people will remain physically able and that they eat well and sleep well. That hinges on how we live our life before we retire. If we are required to work for 14 hours a day under immense stress and constantly having a great anxiety over our work, then how do we ensure healthy aging upon retirement? And also, many employees are 100% committed to their work, whether out of their own volition or not. They have no time for their families or develop their own interests. This is particularly the case for men. After retirement, many men find it difficult to be with their family. They don't find a sense of purpose upon retirement, and they are the high-risk groups when it comes to dementia and mental health problems. So our concern is how we leverage those in the 60s so that they can continue to contribute to society. We want to make sure that the energy won't be depleted before their retirement. And that means before their retirement, we need to show more concern about the health of the younger group. Now, for the primary care blueprint, I understand that the age threshold for chronic disease management is 45. This is a very good idea. And I think this could be packed to long working hours in Hong Kong. You may say that I'm trying to talk about standard working hours, and it is difficult to set standard working hours for every job type. It is difficult to offer overtime pay at the rate of 1.5 or even 2 times the normal pay. All right, but can we just first deal with work fatigue, cardiac arrest or infarction, dropping dead all of a sudden? This is common scene. How do we ensure mental and physical well-being of the elderly? They have soaked up so much stress within them. They have problems in the family because men used to work for over a dozen hours a day, and upon retirement, they spend time day and night with the wife, only to find that they couldn't communicate well. Of course, I am committed to my job, it's my passion, but many employees are forced to spend a lot of time at work. We need to ensure employee labor rights, so that when these employees are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, that they will remain physically fit, so that they still have time for their family and for them to cultivate the interest, so that they won't feel depressed when they retire. Because then we are turning to another extreme, especially in the post-COVID era. No, that is why I, Bill Tang, urge Adrian Ho from the New People's Party to pay attention to the well-being of our elderly. That means we should ensure that there won't be excessively long working hours.
Mr. Frankie Ang, Deputy President, we're facing serious population aging issues in Hong Kong. We have to help elderly people in Hong Kong plan for their retired life. Recent years, we've been talking about aging in place. We think that our elders should live in a place where they're familiar with. In this motion, we want to show appreciation to the contributions made by our elders. We also hope that they can live with dignity. 65 years old is the retirement age or threshold set by the United Nations. Currently, most elderly people in our city are still very energetic. However, their physical health may have deteriorated, their vision may have deteriorated, other parts of their health may have deteriorated. With good community planning, we can ensure good health of our elders. Earlier, the Hong Kong Metropolitan University as well as the other organization conducted a studies. It shows that 40% of the elderly people are facing risks of suffering from dementia. If they continue to work, that could lower the risk of getting dementia. With good life habits, it would also help reduce the risk. It shows that our lifestyle can help prevent elderly people from getting or from suffering from chronic diseases. The government should give support to elderly people in terms of housing. Some elderly people, they would like to continue to work, they would like to do part-time jobs. A lot of our volunteers are about 60 years old or so. However, elderly people who rejoin the workforce may be discriminated against by other people. They are also faced with competition from younger people. They also have to tackle the traditional mindset of the society. The government will have to help elderly people overcome all these hurdles. Our party DAB suggests that the government set up a fund to subsidize companies to hire elderly people so that we can have more elders in our city joining the workforce. We also encourage organizations to hold training to train elderly people as volunteers so that voluntary work can help enrich elderly people's life. Also, there is a lack of barrier-free facilities in our city. In many districts, in the pedestrian connection projects, such as the Universal Project, we see malfunctioning of a lot of facilities. For instance, one of the lifts in Choi Hong Estate, 2/3 of the time of a year, we see the lift break down. A lot of elderly people rely on the lift to go up and down of the estates. Many elderly people lack the supporting measures to age in place. For instance, they lack the armrest, they lack the supporting devices to age in place, and this increases the risk of elderly people getting injured at home. We think that there should be a 5 billion fund from the government to expedite projects that upgrade escalators and lifts. Also, there should be more barrier-free facilities in housing estates. Also, the government should expand the Innovation Technology Fund for application in elderly and rehabilitation care. Again, there hasn't been enough support for rehabilitation care services. There should be more, say, cleaning services, meal delivery services for elderly, so that more elderly can get tailor-made care and service to help them deal with issues they encounter in their daily lives. We see a decline of birth rate. We have to therefore create an age-friendly social environment so that elderly people can enjoy good quality life. Thank you. Mr. Gary Chen. We have had a number of discussions in this council regarding how we can help Silver Hair Group. There are two focuses in this debate. One, how can we promote healthy aging? Second, how we can create a good quality of life for Silver Hair Group. So these are the focuses of our discussions today. We have thought of different ways to offer support to Silver Hair Group. I visit the communities very often. I see a lot of elderly people in our community. I have an observation. We see that when elderly people get to talk to others, or when elderly people get to become volunteers, say in our offices, they are usually more energetic. However, if we simply bring resources to elderly people, for those elderly people simply getting help from us, they usually prefer staying home, and they are less energetic and they respond less quickly. They also suffer from physical health. I think to improve the living quality of our elders, we have to encourage our elders to leave their home and have a social life. For instance, the $2 public transport concession is one way to encourage our elders to go out. Elderly people may not travel a long way. They sometimes just go downstairs. They stay in the park or shopping mall near their homes. However, they have nothing to do when they go down to the park. They just sit on a bench, or they simply go to shopping malls to enjoy air conditioning. However, they often get kicked out if they stay in the shopping mall for too long. This is not helping our elders improve their way of living. I see that there are courses offered to our elderly people. Some are organized by the SWD, some by NGOs. However, I don't see a very high participation rate of these courses because these courses charge a fee. Elderly people, they tend to work hard to save up their money. If you ask them to attend these courses, they may not be willing to do so. I think in the community level, there should be more community centers or interest classes for elderly people. They should be offered to our elders at a very low or cheap price so that we can nurture their interests. And these elders will then spend less time at home. We can offer incentives to elders this way. Secondly, how can we guarantee a good quality of life of our elders? Well, the budget is going to be rolled out soon. We should exempt the rates of our elderly people. We should offer rate concession. Say each quarter they have to pay about $2,000 to $3,000. If you offer a subsidy or concession to them, say like a subsidy of $500 to $600, it is already of great help for them. Elderly people may also rent out their apartments to others. If we can offer help to elderly people with property, say if we offer rate concessions or we offer rate exemption to them, then they get a few $100 more each month, then they may become happier. So in this regard, I will propose against rate exemption before the budget is announced this next year. We think that we should give a subsidy of a few $100s to elderly people, and if they can save up a few $100s, they'll be happy. Thank you. Mr. Tang Fei. Deputy President, elders are faced with different situations. When we talk about silver-haired group, often we focus on the middle class. However, there are also elders from the grassroots. They need social welfare. So we have to look at different groups of elders for this debate. In recent years, around the world, there is an estimate that is for middle-class silver-haired group, they are having a huge consumption power. In 2010 to 2020, in the US, their consumption spending is higher than the younger people. Their consumption is about $1 trillion. In Europe, for elders, some of them own $300 billion of property or asset in total. That is elders who are age 65 or above. We have to consider the spending power of elders. We're not asking them to spend more money. It's that we have to think about how they can contribute to our economy. Well, aging population will perhaps slow down our economy. However, the business industry can create a lot of business opportunities if they take into account the spending power of our elders. Banks can come up with creative loan products or investment products targeting middle-class silver-haired groups. They can be traditional or creative investment products. We can help our elders manage their assets. However, before we talk about that, we have to understand how many middle-class silver-haired people there are. We have to ensure that our silver-haired group will be reassured to spend their money. And this will help drive our economy. For silver-haired group from the grassroots, they may need support in terms of social welfare. Currently, there's still a lot of room for the government to offer help to the grassroots elderly. A lot of elderly people aged over 65, they still have to work, and they usually engage in work that require physical labor. For instance, in the previous bill discussion, it was mentioned that a lot of elderly still have to make a living by going to work, by driving taxi or public light buses, etc. So they need more support from the government. We want our silver-haired groups to live with dignity. We want to ensure that they have a good retired life. We have to ensure that they have the financial ability to sustain themselves. We have policies for our youth, but we also need policies for silver-haired group. So I urge the government to set up a steering committee on silver-haired group. We have to, based on the different groups of silver hair we have in Hong Kong, to come up with different policies. The central government and the SAR government stress the importance of conducting studies. Without studies, we won't be able to have a grasp of the needs or demands of the different types of silver-haired groups in Hong Kong. We have to study their impacts on our economy in order to come up with policies. We need experts' advice and we need studies. Well, our young people need support from us, elderly people as well. We should offer security and dignity to our silver-haired group. Thank you.
Dr. David Lam, Dr. Loy Kwok. Deputy President, I would like to thank Mr. Adrian Ho for moving the original motion and the other 3 members for moving their amendments. The latest statistics of the government show that in the middle of the year, for those aged 65 or above, they account for 21.9% of the overall population. That means 1 in 5 persons in Hong Kong is an elderly person. Now, we need to actively respond to the demands of the President Xi Jinping in his important speech on the 1st of July. That is, we need to take care of the elderly so the elderly can age in place. So the EPA conducted a thematic study. The study finds that 40% of the elderly are living alone or just with their elderly spouses. They don't have enough attention and care. And 4 out of 10 elderly persons are in poverty. And then it takes tens of months for them to wait for subvented residential care homes. And then elderly people have their life savings deceived and so on. So this is a pressing issue. We've got in the elderly, we need to do something. Now, the BPA published a study report that is we need to improve the various elderly policies. So and then this must be a priority for the SL government. Now, we need to develop a blueprint for elderly care. We must also provide comprehensive policy support for the elderly. So we need to let the elderly age in place. We need to respect them, take care of them, and so on. Now, we have an aging population, so the SL government must not just adopt a fragmented approach. It needs to do a committee-wide survey and then identify the needs of the elderly and come up with comprehensive policy. There must be coordination about the different policy bureau to come up with various policy measures so that we could build a we could promote healthy aging. Now, in the northern metropolis, the government should set aside certain sites for building elderly living communities to provide diversity of housing models. And then there may be a need for cross-boundary elderly care too, so the government needs to further promote the various portable schemes. And then the healthcare vouchers for the elderly must cover the Greater Bay Area other than the Guangdong and Fujian provinces. And then there must also be support for more Hong Kong-funded healthcare institutions starting service in the Greater Bay Area cities. And for those aged 65 above, there should be old age allowance without means test. And they should also enjoy the $2 public transport fare concession. And then for those aged 60 or above, they should be able to receive the healthcare vouchers. And there must be tender care vouchers as well. And to encourage the use of Geron technology products, the government should adopt a multi-pronged approach. There should be subsidy for tertiary institutions to develop new products as for renting out to the elderly. And elderly must be able to afford and know how to use such products with support of the government. And then there could be more Geron tech products available for the market to unleash the potential to allow to tap into the spending power of the elderly. And there must be support for community health elderly care services. Now, the new district council is in place. The government should require district councillors and care teams to step up their services for the elderly. In particular, for the elderly singleton and elderly couples, there must be more care policies for them. And then the universal accessibility program must also be extended and implemented fully to allow easy mobility for the elderly. And then there must be stronger effort to crack down on deception cases so elderly won't be deceived of their life savings. There must be hotline for people to report suspicious calls. And then banks must also be required to put in place an anti-deception mechanisms when elderly people try to withdraw their money. And there must be more inspection too And so the government must also crack down on shops that try to deceive the elderly. Now, the elderly have contributed most of their life to our economic prosperity, so they must be given more support and care so they could live a happy retirement. You have you stop your time, Dr. Low. Professor William Wong. Deputy President, we always wish people longevity and happiness. That's a kind of well wish for the elderly when they have their birthday. Now, Hong Kong people have an average age of over 80. So, and then Dr. Johnny Ng and Miss Elizabeth Court propose in their amendments that we must make good use of gerontology so the elderly could enjoy a happy and healthy retirement. That will help to promote the sense of happiness for the elderly. At the same time, there will lessen the stress on the elderly carers. Now we're going to have an aging population. The Census and Statistics projections that by 2046, 1 in 3 persons in Hong Kong will be an elderly person. Yes, the elderly dependency ratio keeps rising, but in a new era, the silver age group relatively more properly educated. Population census outcome shows that among the elderly in 2011, 1% of the elderly have secondary education. By 2021, it's gone up to 46%. So we can expect the education attainment of the elderly to go up further. They will have various professional skills and qualifications, and these are valuable assets for the community. Now, Hong Kong is an affluent society. We have advanced healthcare system. Relatively, old people here are healthy. So that's why we need to provide an age-friendly environment to provide sufficient job opportunities for the elderly, and also there must be opportunities for them to do voluntary work. So for the elderly who are still able, they will be able to continue to contribute to society by leveraging on their own strengths. The government must take the lead to make good use of silver-haired resources. There must be proper planning and coordination. For example, for INT talent training, compared to other countries, neighboring countries, Hong Kong lags far behind in STEAM education. We can make good use of the manpower resources we have. For example, there is training program that invite retired STEAM teachers to be trainers and to give talks at different schools to promote science. And then the teachers are also partnered with these experienced teachers. And then in future, schools could arrange for visits for students to visit big organizations and so on to learn more about science and INT. And then there could be INT education center in each district. And there could be sharing of teaching materials and experience. And then other professionals such as engineers and so on, in particular retired professionals could be enlisted to support teachers in their teaching. They could also give talks in schools about subjects they know well. And so teachers can learn from these retirees. They will learn about the experience and the skills, and then they will have then more people may become interested in joining the INT sector. As for Hong Kong retirees in GBA, they can also plan for their retirement life. Now we're seeing rapid development in GBA. there may be shortage of manpower. So I would suggest the government to take up discussion with other GBA cities to see how we could make the most of the silver-haired manpower resources. Now, in Guangzhou, they have a think tank, silver hair think tank. They organize thematics seminars. They engage in R&D projects and so on. So it's good development, and I speak in support of the original motion and the amendment. Dr. Tang Yueheng, thank you. Now, Hong Kong has the longest life expectancy. This means, but we're also an aging population, so the government needs to take action to improve the quality of living of the elderly. At the same time, we need to pay attention to other age groups. I like to make a number of points. So the government will promote healthy aging in Hong Kong, and then the silver age will have good quality of living. The government should play a more active role in promoting that. First, we must promote a silver-haired economy. We could make good use of drone technology to enhance the quality of life of the elderly. There are both products and services when it comes to drone technology products. For example, healthcare products, long-term care, comprehensive social security, personal equipment, and so on. There's a whole range of products and services that will require drone technology.
Well, that way, the elderly people who are marginalized can also benefit from these initiatives. And the demand is really multifaceted in the retail market. I think we have to go into detail about different segments, like the elderly wellness, elderly travel. We can have different segments for the elderly so that we can meet the demand of the silver economy. And they are the consumers. The general technology is an important element in the development of the silver economy. These will address a lot of issues in terms of health monitoring, social life, and all manner of problems encountered by the senior citizens, and we can enhance their self-care abilities. Gerontech in Hong Kong is still in its infancy. The development is pretty slow there. And I think the proportion of the senior citizens using these Gerontech is still low. There is ample room for further development. I think we can promote Gerontech in order to improve the quality of elderly care. Second, the mental health of the old folks should be addressed. They are suffering from deterioration in the physical health, and they are experiencing difficulties in their life. There should be sufficient resources and support for them. We have to pay attention to the mental health of the senior citizens. Not only do we need to have family care, we also have to make sure that the old folks will still be connected with the community in a way that they will not feel isolated and excluded. The government can organize courses that can be subsumed under the courses of the Elder Academy to tie in with the current situation. And we can offer more interest classes for the senior citizens, for them to learn new knowledge. And for the qualified and eligible senior citizens, they should also be allowed to have further studies, which can be subsidized, that we can help them achieve lifelong learning and help them to lead a meaningful life. Third, we should promote the collaboration between Hong Kong and the mainland in terms of elderly care. Fourth, the government should advocate the proper understanding of the senior citizens. The senior citizens are an important asset for society. Different people would have different conditions physically. Some can still continue with their work, but others can't. So when the government formulates policy, they have to have regard to the specific needs of the senior citizens. We should get rid of all the bias and offer support to the old folks. Thank you. I support the motion. Mr. Chairman Kwong, Madam Deputy, now for the aging population, I think we have had 4 debates on this very subject. I mean, this council, this goes to show how much importance we attach to this, and this motion offers us another opportunity to have a go at this issue. I'd like to look at it from 3 angles: the planning for the silver economy. We should see aging population as a crisis, and we should see this very much an opportunity. When we debated the collaboration between Hong Kong and mainland in terms of elderly care, I said that it is every child's responsibility to look after their senior parents. And I think we have to emphasize filial piety there. In the 2022 policy address, the administration said that there would be 5% of the floor space that will be devoted to care homes. And this is meeting the demand of the rising demand, but this is really not anywhere near enough. I think in order to increase the proportion, the government should raise the threshold to 10% for newly built public housing. The first 5 floors should be devoted to day care center for the senior citizens. I mean, that way they can be living in the same block as their offsprings and their grandchildren. In 2039, 1/3 of the total population will be composed of senior citizens. These 5 floors devoted to senior citizens is really a scientific proposition, and that would obviate the need for them to travel a long distance to visit their families. And this is a very good proposal. Per capita, we have 172 square feet in Hong Kong in terms of accommodation size. In Seoul, Singapore, China, Taipei, it is 30 to 35 square meters square in terms of per capita space. Now, it is a really strange situation. If you look at the allowance for supporting parents, how many people are living in under the same roof as the parents? So this design is not worth the paper it's written on. I hope that this definition will be changed. Instead of living under the same roof, we can change this to living in the same housing estate or living in the same administrative district, and this would be a step in the right direction. Also, we can see that the administration should offer more tax incentive for the Hong Kong annuity. The reverse mortgage will be designed in such a way that the senior citizens can take full advantage of their own assets so that they can utilize their own assets. We can only get $60,000 tax concession for these schemes. I think we should allow a tax concession of $60,000 so that in our aging society we will be more fully prepared. Finally, I'm sure not all of us would like to live out our years in the old folks' homes, but still there is such a demand for that, and I think we should enhance the FDH support to 300,000 households. I would like to hire foreign domestic helpers to look after the old folks. I think we have to train up the FDHs to help look after the senior citizens. In Singapore, they do have a scheme like this. They have the training program for the foreign domestic helpers in the area of looking after the senior citizens. They are equipped with the knowledge and expertise to help look after the senior citizens. And this is an awful idea that would be suited to the senior citizens. This is fit for purpose. With these words, I support the motion. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Madam